I have here, in my possession, spoken straight and true, one of the finest blades you will ever know. The Owazamono, one of the 21 great grade swords in existence. I present the Guardian of Hell, ENMA. If at some point on your long journey you should encounter a giant alcoholic duck dragon, this blade will cut through that giant alcoholic duck dragon. I'm so happy I finally got ENMA, and Ame no Habakiri, but mostly today we're talking about ENMA. Oh my god, this was beautiful. I'm telling you what, guys, the second we found out that Zorro was gonna get his hands on this sword, I was like, alright, I'm waiting for it. They're gonna be making a replica of it, you know, the same as with the Wado and Shusui and Sandai Katetsu. I was waiting for it, but man, how long has it been since we've even started Wano in the anime? You understand this isn't even in the anime yet. It is so weird to hold a sword that hasn't even had a proper introduction in the canon of the in the anime yet. When I say canon of the anime, there has been an animated version of ENMA. It appeared in that Arashi music video, the one that they did with the Straw Hats pound around with that Japanese boy band. We do get to see ENMA during that music video. However, it is colored like dark purple, and the blade itself is colored like greenish color. And I just want to say, for those of you that are curious, you know, for those of you that were maybe a little bit dubious, because it seems very clearly in the manga, it's supposed to be like a yin-yang sort of heaven and hell sort of black and white motif for both of these blades. But yeah, the official color scheme of ENMA, we do get to see it in one of the tankobons. It is in fact a black sword, or at least the sheath of the scabbard and the hilt are both black. And the blade, well, I guess we don't really know about the blade yet, but I want to show you the blade on this bad boy right here because it looks awesome. First, I want to show you, in comparison, before I show you Enma's blade, I want to show you Shusui's, okay? So Shusui, the way they did this, you got a black sword, Kokuto, but you also got some red in there too, like little jagged little red teeth, like the temper pattern, okay? So, that's Shusui. Now let me show you a close-up of ENMA. Yeah, look at that. So they got the flaming, like, temper pattern down, but they went one step further than that, and they added a red color to it instead of just doing it. They could have just made it, like, black like the rest of it, and it would have worked fine, but yeah, that's a straight-up demon cutter sword right here. Like, if you're gonna find a sword to cut down Kaido and get a southern accent out of old Tekking, this is the blade that's gonna do it right here. Alright, so, yeah, now, one thing that I will bring up, and I don't know how you feel about this, maybe you feel fine with it, but Ame no Habakiri, which we'll be doing a separate video on this one later, because, you know, ENMA sort of has the, you know, the center stage right now, because this is the one that Zorro has in his possession, and he'll be, you know, using that throughout his fight with Kaido and the Calamities. Whoever Zorro fights against, I'm assuming he's gonna clash with King at some point, because King, from what we understand, is like second in command, or second strongest right after Kaido. I mean, unless we introduce, so I'm not, you know, getting Big Mom and her crew involved, you know, just the Beast Pirates, just Kaido's crew. We got Kaido, who is, you know, the captain, and then we have the three Calamities, which are like the highest level of grade in the crew, and then King is apparently the strongest out of them, so I guess it goes Kaido and then King, unless we introduce somebody else. So, and King uses a sword, so I'm assuming Zoro's gonna fight him, so that's gonna get center stage. Ame no Habakiri, though, was given to Momo. However, he decided not to use it right now, because he doesn't feel like he's ready, and also he's like 8 years old, so yeah. But they used the exact same blade for Ame no Habakiri, which I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like, the motive here is, yeah, definitely this is ENMA, so it's a more demonic blade, because ENMA is the judge of hell, and, you know, Ame no Habakiri references heaven, and it is one of the Totsuka blades that were used to defeat, were used by Susanoo to defeat Yamato no Orochi. So, I don't know, the fact that it's, Ame no Habakiri, a sword that was used in Japanese mythology to slay the Yamato no Orochi, and here in One Piece we have a character named Orochi that can turn into a Yamato no Orochi, probably not gonna connect back in the slightest. So, I actually, if you're interested more in just the mythology of these blades and their namesakes and more detail into those stories, I already made a video about that. I made a video before we even got to see these swords in the actual story, like Zorro holding it. I think as soon as Hiyori mentioned that these blades existed, I did a video on it because of just their namesakes alone. That's just interesting stuff from the mythology point of view. But this video, we're going to be focusing on ENMA and its actual properties that we do get to see. So, ENMA is extraordinarily unique in the One Piece world because it is the only sword, the only weapon, period, so far that actually directly interferes with the haki of its user. So up until this point, swords were just kind of swords. I mean, there's Meito that have higher ranks, so there's swords that have a very high pedigree. Enma, though, then we get to this sword, and it's like, yeah, the way that Tekking101 talked about it was the only person that was able to wield this was Oden, because the second you grab it, it forcibly takes the Armament Haki, or the Ryou, out of your body, and it forces it into the sword, into a state of kokuto, into it, so it creates itself as a black blade on, you know, without you actually trying to do it, right? And so when we saw that with Zorro, when he picked up ENMA, his arm goes all emaciated, like dried out and mummified, and the armament gets like forced out of Zorro, up his arm, into the blade, and the blade became a black sword. And Zorro was like, oh, yo, no, you're not doing that, give that back to me. And then his arm goes back, and Zorro's like panting, and he's like, oh man, this is a problem, child. And then Tekking101 and even Kinemon, who is like the leader of the Scabbards and like directly underneath Oden, had a great respect in Oden and knows the power of the sword and everything. And knows how powerful Zorro is too. You know, he saw him fight against, he saw slice Pika in half during Dressrosa. Kinemon knows how badass Zorro is. He goes up to him and he's like, Zorro, man, I gotta be honest with you, if it was me, or anybody else, really, I would not recommend you take ENMA. I would not recommend you take Oden's sword. Oden was literally the only person in the history of Wano that was able to use this thing, right? Now, the way that Tekking101 talked about it, though, it was like every other person that even attempted to pick this thing up had the haki drained out of them and they became like a dried out husk and they just perished, okay? Zorro, it seems like he might have had some difficulty with it when he first picked it up, but he didn't die, and even more than that, he was able to take the haki and force it back into himself. Sort of like a give and take, sort of like Jinchuriki, and Tailed Beast sort of deal in Naruto, where it's like you gotta go back and forth with the chakra exchange, that seems to be the kind of relationship going on with ENMA. And I'll be honest with you, like, there were theories long before ENMA, came into the story that there was going to be some kind of weapon that was going to have the properties of absorbing haki, or you need to use haki in order to pick up the blade. I saw a lot of fan theories about that, and I'll be straight up with you. I thought that they were nothing more than just that. Like, that kind of stuff just didn't happen in One Piece. Like, really kind of like fan fiction type of material. Like, oh, in the One Piece world, there's a special sword, but you have to be a master of Armament Haki to even pick the sword up. And I was always like, oh, come on, that doesn't really fit in One Piece. Well, color me wrong, I'm sorry. Like, that clearly, like, if you would have told me, like, 2 years ago there was a blade Zorro was going to get that forced the haki out of him and into the blade to make it a Kokuto, I would look at you and be like, alright, well, that's a really good fan fiction you're working on, keep at it. I just don't see that ever happening in One Piece. But, it happens, right? It's the first time for everything, right? And actually, if you start thinking about it, which is pretty much my job to think— oh, wait! Ah! Ha! I remembered! You can't say, like, you look at this! Look at this! I spent the last 45 minutes setting all this crap up, cutting out these little tag things. I remembered! Okay, cool. Alright, back to it. So, there's a few things interesting about the fact that this sword forces haki out of the user, alright? Because this isn't like Bleach, where we have, like, Zanpakuto, like, sword spirits, like, living inside blades. That would be going, I think, one step further, okay? It's kind of been implied by Oda that the swords have, like, a little bit of a personality to them. Like, the Sandai Katetsu, and probably all the Katetsus, they have this, desire for blood, right? And so that's one thing, sure. But then having like a personality of their own, that's like going the next level with it. You know, like Zorro going into like Jinzen and communing with the spirit of Enma. But Haki is just like the literal translation of Haki is ambition or willpower or just will, okay, or ambition. So if this sword like affects Haki in that way, I don't know, like that seems to imply like maybe the person that forged Enma, Kozaburo Shimotsuki, the name that's the guy that left Wano like over 50 years ago before the present storyline, he left. I don't know what was the deal with him. He was also the same guy that made the Wado. Because what could he have possibly done to this sword? I mean, it's one thing to make it a kokuto. That I can understand. Like, taking your Haki, pouring it into a sword over and over and over again, maintaining it long enough until eventually it just becomes a black sword. Like, the Haki just permeates the blade. I can understand that. But making a sword that literally sucks the Haki, the ambition, the Ryou out of you, that seems to imply this thing has a will of its own in a greater context than any other sword. You know, like, yeah, Zorro had some difficulty reining in Sandai Katetsu because of the curse. But all the other blades Zorro has had, he's never really mentioned it in that way. Like Wado never really gave him any trouble. The only thing Shusui gave him was Zorro felt like it was a lot heavier than his other swords, but that didn't prevent Zorro from using Shusui. He just, you know, Yubashiri was a really light katana. Shusui was a lot heavier by comparison. In fact, the reason it was a lot heavier was maybe because it was a kokuto. But the point is, Zorro picked up Shusui and he's like, oh yeah, this is gonna take a little bit of handling in order for me to use this properly, but I could still do it. You know, it's not like Zorro picked up Shusui and like shot out of his hand or something, like, you will not wield me, da! You know, nothing like that. That seems to be the situation with this. You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah, it does. So maybe Kozaburo Shimotsuki, maybe it's possible now for like the person that forged the blade to impart some of their own Haki into the blade. It seems to imply that there's other people that attempted to pick up Enma before Oden did, and that kind of stuff happened to them, because they told the stories about the people that tried to use it and they all got sucked dry. After Oden died, we don't know what's up with that yet. We're actually getting to that point in the manga soon, but after Oden died, he left Enma to Hiyori, his daughter, and he left Ame no Habakiri to Momonosuke, his son. I don't really think there was probably a lot of other people that used these two swords in the intermediate time, in the last 20 years. Especially since Tenguyama was the one that was kind of in charge of them. And I don't think somebody would just be like, come on, Tenguyama, give me Oden's prize swords! You know, I don't think Tenguyama would have done that, so it seems to imply that there were users before Oden. Like, the sword was created as a problem child, and every swordsman, every samurai in the country that attempted to use it got sucked dry, giggity, and then eventually Oden got the swords, and then he could finally use them, right? And he was like the first person to do that. And then Oden died, left these swords as inheritance, and then Tenguyama just watched over them in a secret place. Plus, Tenguyama had to keep them secret, because you know Orochi was probably looking for these damn things, right? So somebody somewhere, like one of the Beast Pirates, somebody somewhere was probably looking for these things in the last 20 years, right? So yeah, I think Zorro's been the first person in a long time to pick these blades up, right? So that's the situation with that, which is unusual in that regard, right? So Zorro, though, it wasn't that big of an issue. We saw Zorro training with Enma a little bit, in just kind of like side scenes. The biggest one was when he picked up the blade, and then he just gently kind of, and then shing, and then sliced an entire mountain, or the tip of a mountain just in half, and it just fell into the ocean, like a big chunk of it just, whoa, okay? So Zorro can indeed wield it, and we saw him in the background kind of just doing basic exercises with it, so he can pick up the sword. It's probably just like a constant struggling match where Zorro has to constantly be on guard at all times, constantly has to be reining his Haki back in and just being like, nope, nope, and while he's doing that, he also has to be practicing to, you know, better understand the potential of Enma. So he's not just like every time, because imagine that, like, if Zorro doesn't train with this properly, like every time Zorro unsheathes it from its scabbard, it's just like, all right, Kaido, you're going down, and it just slices down like 16 people next to him, like they're all charging at Onigashima, like, Kaido, this is your final day, and Zoro's like, it's time to slice him down, shing, and then like, oh, sorry, Kandro, I sliced off your arm, I'm sorry, buddy, you know, like, Zoro has to really be careful with how he utilizes this weapon, right? But it seems like he's getting a handle on it. I'm assuming when we do finally get to see Zoro bust this thing out, when we see him get into a fight with it at Onigashima with one of the Calamities or one of the headliners, gifters, whoever, the first fight Zoro's gonna get, we're gonna get a little bit more introspection on, like, the training he did and what he actually thinks about it. Actually, you know what? In all honesty, I can kind of see Zorro doing this. I can kind of see Zorro understanding this sword is different from every other blade he's attempted to use. He can use it, but there's a lot of risks involved. I can honestly see Zorro not pulling this thing out until he really has to. You know, I don't see Zorro charging into Onigashima with his Santoryu, like all three swords, using it like he normally does, and just charging in and slicing down random beast pirate riffraff, okay? In fact, I could see him, like, Zorro goes up against, like, let's say, okay, they charge into Onigashima, they cut down a couple riffraff, then they have to fight against one of the headliners, okay? One of the headliners or one of the 6 flying captains shows up, and Zorro's like, alright, you guys go on ahead, I'll take care of this guy. And Zorro only takes out his Wado and his Sandai, and he uses Nitoryu, and he leaves Enma in the scabbard, and he's like, you know, I'm only gonna use that when I feel like somebody's worthy of it, you know, I'm not busting that out unless I have to. So he fights against maybe one of the gifters and cuts one of them down, and then he moves on, and then King appears with his giant mighty wings, like, ah, hello there, pirate hunter Zorro. It's like, oh, that's cool, are you a demon? Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, that's cool, hold on a second, let me just take this out, put this in my, okay, good. All right, here we go, let's go. And then he fights King with, like, all 3 of his swords, and he really is trying to, like, rein in Enma while doing it. Also, keep in mind, Enma and Ame no Habakiri were the 2 swords that actually sliced Kaido and caused that scar on his body. The second that Kaido, or probably any of the Beast Pirates, even the Calamities definitely, any of them see that Zorro has this damn thing, they're gonna be relaying it back to Kaido. Alright, they're gonna be like, Sir Kaido, we saw the pirate hunter raiding Onigashima with the rest of the Straw Hats in the rebellion. Yeah, who cares about him? He's got Enma! Oh, shit, okay, I'm gonna, should I stop drinking or keep drinking? Alright, you know what? I'm gonna keep drinking. He pulls out, like, the special giant glug of sake he's had. He's like, oh boy, glug, glug, glug. His scar starts throbbing. I could see that. I could see Kaido arriving in front of Zorro and be like, ah, my scar's aching today, glug, glug, glug. That damn sword! You know, and Zorro's like, oh, you want another taste of it? I heard this cut you once upon a time. So, yeah, that would be cool. I mean, especially since, you know, I don't want to see Zorro, like, single-handedly, like, defeat Kaido. Alright. Would that be cool to see? Yes. Would that be an epic panel to draw for Oda? Yes. But, you know, like, this is kind of a team effort thing here, you know, like the Straw Hats and the Supernovas and the Rebellion, all the Samurai and the Scabbards. This is kind of a team effort here, right? So, I mean, I would like to see that final battle, you know, everybody's involved. But, yeah, Zorro being the one to, like, go and, like, slice Kaido at the same way with the, like Oden did all those years ago. Yeah, that'd be pretty damn cool to see. Now, Ame no Habakiri, we know, in comparison, we know very little about this sword. Just because that it hasn't been drawn in combat yet in the present storyline. We saw Oden use it in the backstory, but even in the backstory right now, we haven't really been focusing on these swords too much. You know, like, Oden has them, he walks around with them, he uses them, he clashed with Whitebeard with them, he blocked Roger's, God's, like, a version to God or something. It was the name of the technique, you know, Kamisore, and he, like, swings it, and, like, Oden did this, and he blocked it, and they got sent flying back into a tree. So we saw that, but we never really saw, like, Oden, you know, taking out Ame no Habakiri and being like, this is my blade, Ame no Habakiri. it was created by the great swordsmith. You know, yeah, it was created by the great swordsmith Susanoo back in the ancient days, antiquity of Wano. Like, we've never seen him, like, go into great detail other than the fact that these blades were handed down through, like, the Kozuki clan, and the fact that ENMA was created by Shimotsuki Kozaburo. We don't know anything about Ame no Habakiri. In fact, it's considering that Tenguyama mentioned specifically ENMA and the Wado were made by Kozaburo, he didn't mention Ame no Habakiri, so I'm assuming... You know, it's weird, because both of these swords look remarkably similar, right? They look like they look like they were made by the same swordsmith, okay? They have the same guard, same basic hilt, same scabbard, you know, just inverted color patterns, really. And so maybe Kozaburo had a brother or some other family member in that line. At the very least, if it was a Shimotsuki that created ENMA, it was a Shimotsuki that created Ame no Habakiri, I'm assuming. So, yeah, I'll focus on a video about this maybe after we wait a little while and we see a little bit more of this, or if we don't, if it's very apparent that Ame no Haba, because the thing is, it's one of the Totsuka blades that cut down Yamato no Orochi in the myth, so it's like, even though Momo says he doesn't want to use it, like, this sword basically has to be used to cut down Orochi, right? Like, that's the whole myth. Like, why would you introduce, oh yeah, this was a blade that cut down Yamato no Orochi in the myth. Oh, is it gonna be the sword that cuts down Orochi in One Piece? Nah. I don't know where you got that idea. You know, so other than Oda just trolling the crap out of us, this has to be used during this arc. Alright, but by whom? Maybe Momo will finally pick it up and he'll have Orochi dead to rights and he'll be like, you killed my father! And then Orochi's like, no, please, Prince Momo, I'm sorry, don't! You know, and then he uses it, right? Or maybe Zorro uses it, but I think Momo, I mean, it's kind of like Momo being the one to avenge his dad. I mean, they could kind of put him up to it, which seems kind of messed up. Like the battle's over, Kaido's defeated, all the calamities are dead, and then it's just Orochi, like, sniveling in a corner, like, oh, please, I'm sorry, don't hurt me. And then, you know, Zoro's there, Kinemon's there, freaking all the Strides are there. Everyone's like, all right, you know, Hiyori's there, and we're like, all right, let's cut him down. And then Zoro's like, I was gonna do it, but you know what, Momo, he's the one that took over your country. He's the one that killed your father. You have to be the one to avenge his legacy. And then Tengu appears and then hands, like, Momo. So you know, Shogun Momo, your blade. I'm like, Momo's like, I've never done this before. And then, you know, it's poetic, but really, really dark at the same time. Like, all right, 8-year-old child, take your sword and avenge your father. I'm like, okay, you know, like, I guess, but still, this is messed up a little bit. It's like, no, dude, okay. So, anyway, yeah, ENMA, very interesting blade. I'm happy to finally get my hands on this. Every time I get asked, I get asked a lot, like, where do you get your swords, Tekking? And I'm like, Amazon.com. I don't really have a, like, specific source for my swords. I, like, literally have bought all of these by just going on Amazon.com and typing in One Piece Zorro swords. I typed in, like, Zorro ENMA, and I got this. There was only a limited amount, though, so I don't know how many are left, but that's all I did, you know. I didn't, like, I don't have, like, the special, like, anime katana website that I visit, you know. It's just Amazon is where I get all these, and it did not come today, but I am getting a Nidai Katetsu. That one is coming as well, so we'll do a video on the Katetsu after that. What's really cool is, I ordered these separately, like, they weren't, like, you know, 2 swords in one order. I had to order them 2 separate orders, but they still came together in the exact same box. As if, like, they expected, okay, if you're gonna buy ENMA, you're probably gonna buy Ame no Habakiri, you know, in one go, and so they boxed them together, which is as they should be, right? As they should be. It is so cool for me to be holding these right now. I don't even know. I don't have words to express it. I feel like I tweeted about it, like, I am not worthy. I am not worthy of these hollowed swords. But I touched ENMA without getting my Haki stolen, so I guess that proves right then and there that I am great. I am destined to be Shogun of Wano. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Looking forward to some new sword videos in the future. Tekking101 signing out.